Good morning, Porsche minor mechanic fans and YouTube fans and anyone else really that's out there listening. Welcome along. Today, sadly, I don't have a Porsche video for you, but I do have a BMW part 2 of part 1, which shouldn't really have been, but it is. This is a follow-up from the previous video regarding we changed the O2 sensor and we changed the spark plugs and found oily ports, and the outcome of that was the rocker cover gasket needs replacing with the O-rings to the exhaust port, to the spark plug ports, and also the Valvetronic motor. We're going to investigate that. It's a prime opportunity to do that because the cover's got to come off to get the motor out. I can do a little bench test on it. We do have a new video part to fit if required. The car's been running fine, to the best of my knowledge. There haven't been any issues with it, so let's crack on and get that cover off and see how we go. Do apologise that it's not Porsche. I know there's a couple out there that feel they've been duped, but you've got to have a break now and again, haven't you? Change is as good as a rest. Right, let's get the bits and pieces together and we'll crack on with the job. Right, as for the dismantling, we've done it all before in the previous video, so I'm just going to crack on with that and we'll whiz through that and get to the main event. Now, see, there is a bit of Porsche in this video because this tail is actually going to come in useful, so I'm going to sit the camera on it so you can see what I'm doing. There you go, see, a little bit of Porsche just to keep those people happy. Right, the 4 bolts on the centre, 1, 2, 3 and 4, in the middle of the rocker cover. It's worth noting the ones on the left there's 2 on the left and 2 on the right. They have a much longer, I'm just trying to get it without dropping them. They have a much longer shaft as opposed to The two on the right, that's the broken one, which we'll have to look into. The two on the right are short, so we'll just put them together. We've got our broken one there, longer shaft. So the two longer shafts are on the left hand side as you're standing facing the rocker cover. So it's important to keep those separate. I reckon what's happened is someone's put that in back round the wrong way. That's why the stud's sheared off. But who knows? Keep those two separate over there. We've got to disconnect the crankcase breather, which is just a push fit quite easily. And underneath here, where my finger is, right there, is another bolt to come out. Now, it's a bit of a fiddly one, but it's not actually tight for some strange reason. I've got a little turn on it with a spanner without any effort at all. So I'm going to remove that now, and then we should be clear to remove the entire rocker cover. In order to gain a bit more access to that back bolt, which I'm going to point out to you again in a minute, there's actually two earth straps here. I only saw the one originally. One on the left of the Valvetronic, and the other one sitting there currently now is on the right. They just bolt in literally either side. You can just about make out it's there, okay? And that enables you to lift the loom up out the way to give you a bit more space to access that bolt. Now that bolt is loose. I can almost turn it with my fingers, but I'm going to have to get in there. My ratchet, I can't find my 10mm ratchet spanner, and I am gutted, so I'm going to have to do it painfully one by one. And then we need to disconnect this breather pipe, and then we should be ready to lift off. Right, with that bolt out, I'll show you that bolt. It's that one there. It's got a post on the top of it. That's that one out of that top far, can't see it on the screen, right hand corner. Fiddly little bugger. And we've disconnected the breather at the back there as well. Just need to remove the coil packs. Fortunately, mine are still numbered. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 was a black one, if I remember rightly, because it's been replaced. And number 4. There she blows. That's your 4 coil packs. Put those safely over there. Now, there is, I'm going to show you, a little bit of oil back in that port. You can just about make it out around the collar. It's built up again. And indeed around number 4. See it? Yeah. 2 and 3 were clean and still are. So I'm a little bit worried about that stud that's broken in there. It obviously doesn't appear to be having much effect on the seal, but it is something that could probably do with being tapped out at some point. Right, let's try and remove the cover now. Here goes. Everything's clear. She's off there. Be careful not to snag your loom anywhere. That really would be a needle in a haystack job. Sure that isn't right over the back, really. Okay. That go like that. Just watch what you're doing as you're pulling it out, so that you get a nice clean exit, and you don't wrench any wires out at the same time. Now, and the centre gasket's fallen out all on its own. Okay. So there you have your cover. The gasket is sitting, this gasket has been, it should be the other way around. That gasket should be in the rocker cover, ideally, but it's been bonded in. I can see, looking at it, with some sealer. Let's have a closer little look. Okay, yeah, you can see around here and there, it's been used. That gasket's not that old. I think the problem is what they've done is you can see how clean that port is, and you can see how dirty that one is because the oil has been getting over the rings. It's the same story. Let's have a little look. It's the same story. That one has popped out, interestingly. Okay, have a look. Right. There are a few little nicks in there. It's not terrible, but it's not in. It's come out of place, which is they normally stay there. Do on the 6 anyway. Yeah. So we'll pull those out shortly. Just going to pop it back in place for now. Okay, but yeah, you can see, particularly with this one, 1 and 4 of the leakers, the oil has been, if I go, where are we? Clean finger, run it down the inside of the tube, and it goes a bit oily. So we'll sort that out. And you can see the oil laying there. So in actual fact, this one I think is more likely to be the bottom O-ring. I'll give it a clean up, because basically that's your head and your spark plug, and that slides in there. Now, either wasn't seated properly for whatever reason, but we're going to change that lot anyway. Now it's all about cleaning everything up, so we'll crack on with that. Okay, it's always important to have a very thorough clean up, so we're going to clean up all that residue from the old gasket and the old sealant all the way around the head, to make sure that we get a good seal. There's a bit down there, you can see the little strips of grey sealant that have been left on it. The cam chain on this one's got a little bit of corrosion on it, bit unusual, but still nevertheless. I'm going to clean out those ports, make sure they're all nice and clear, and get those new rubbers in. And when I've had a clean up, then I'm going to look at doing a bench test on that Valvetronic motor. So I'll have a good clean up, give this a thorough degreasing, and go from there. You can join me when we're all cleaned up. Right, I've had a good clean up. We have got the outer edge done all the way around. Tricky in that corner over there, but still we've got it all done. So we've got a nice clean face for that. I've given the parts a good wash down and degrease. They're over there drying out, and I want to introduce you to what I used to get that gasket off that manifold, that rocker cover, and it's called Goo Gone. Put it on goo and it's gone. Let it soak up. Good stuff. I think you can get it on Amazon. Not sure, I think it's an American company, but nevertheless, pretty good bit of kit. Does the job. I used that on the Porsche originally to remove the old lettering from the back, and just in case, as it is a Porsche channel and you're getting withdrawal symptoms, there you go. Have a little bit of Porsche. There you go. You can't do without a bit of Porsche, can you? Right, let's take a look at the parts we're going to be putting back. Right, parts we're going to be fitting are the new rocker cover gasket with the middle gasket as well, two-piece kit. going on the cover when it's dry, and then we've got our O-rings. BMW are generally in part, because as we've discovered, these don't come with the gasket on its as a complete unit. There is a top gasket and a bottom gasket set, which these would be included in. We picked those up, and these are to go on our tubes, which we are going to. I removed the old ones. They don't look terrible, the O-rings. I'm sort of steering towards the fact where they might not have been seated properly, but still, we're going to take those off, clean up behind them, put a little bit of grease on them to help them bond in, and that's those done. But before we do the fitting stuff, we are going to take a look at the Valvetronic motor. So we're going to pull that out and give it a road test. Right, Valvetronic motor removal. You've got two 10mm nuts. Whatever you do, do not drop them inside the rocker cover. We'll loosen them both off. That's it. Like that. I'm not saying you won't be able to get them back, but they won't be easy. So concentrate on those, do not drop them inside the head, as they will make a proper mess beyond all description. And they'll rattle a little bit as well. Right. Just for the record, 2 nuts, which I'm going to put up the back there. Now, to get this out, you wind it out. So it's all unplugged here, as we did that earlier. And what I need to do to get it out is wind it. It's really hard to do because it's on a spline. I'm trying to work out how I can't get a grip on it. Here we go. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, I think I've just discovered the way to do it. I couldn't remember. But basically, no, I don't think BMW would have been that kind. I thought for a silly moment that there might have been some sort of keyway in there. Okay, it's coming. There we go. So we're winding it towards the windscreen of the car. God, it is difficult. My fingers are quite greasy anyway. When we fit it back, we're just going to do exactly the same but in reverse. So we're winding it on to this gear here. You haven't got to do too much of it. In fact, it's almost out. But a fiddly little job. But the secret is keep your hands clean and you're any grease, and you'll be able to turn it a whole lot more. So yeah, basically it's anti-clockwise to get it out, and it'll be clockwise to put it in position. I think it's there, and it is. There you go. And there we have one Valvetronic motor, which we're going to look into. Right, Valvetronic motors. This is the one I've taken out of the car. This has got BMW stamped on the back of it. The part numbers are the same as the new one, A2C31223520. The fact that it's got BMW on the back of it and it doesn't look brand new, it's definitely got to be an original part. To give it a test, these are DC motors, 12 volt, and on the back of them they've got two little lugs in there, two little tabs. If we put a current to it, it doesn't matter which way round you go with it, purely and simply hold on tight to it. But if you put a current to it, try and show you what I'm doing if I can. Make sure they don't touch together. I'm not holding this properly, hang on. Right, there you go, you can hear it. There's not a great deal, you know, it's not going to want to fly across the room, but you can see I'm holding on to it relatively gently, and obviously as I touch the terminals it wants to pull. Doesn't sound brilliant, that one. This is the new one, it's a VDO, made in Germany. Looks like a good part to me. And there's your numbers on the back. VDO are a very reputable company for making precision bits of equipment. So I'm going to do the same with this one. If you reverse the polarities, you can just send them backwards or forwards, okay? Now, that does feel like it's got a little bit more pull in it. If I turn it over, that's reversing the polarities. It says. But if you listen to that one, that motor sounds healthy. That's the new one. And if I plug in the old one, it sounds a little bit bearing-y, to be honest. I don't know if you're picking that up. Now, it would never spin like that in the car. Sounds a lot different to me. So on the grounds of that, this one does feel a little bit beefier. It's got quite a bit of work to do. It just literally, it's variable valve timing at its best. And it basically coils backwards and forwards and just adjusts and tweaks the valve timing. So I'm going to run with the new one on the strength of that. This one does feel torquier. It sounds healthier. And this one looks, it's not a cheap part. It was an original part. So there's every possibility it's been in there since new. So let's go ahead and fit this back in the car. Okay, fitting it back, your electrical connection sits at 12 o'clock, so it goes to the top, and then basically slide it back in and then rotate it towards you, winding it, feeding it in and just winding it on. And it is now sitting there in place, and we'll replace the two 10mm again without dropping them. And I am now just going to nip those up. Right, and that's all there is to it. We won't snap the connector on just yet because other things to do. Right, that's it all fitted back, tightened up the two 10mm bolts. They are, or nuts should I say, there is no torque settings from BMW for those, so just nip them up nice and tight. Remember, they've got what look like copper, certainly copper coated threads there, so you don't want to muller them, but nice and snug and tight is absolutely fine. And you've got your electrode, your plug-in sitting at midday on the top there. And it's worth making a note of where those splines are in relation to the end of your thread i.e. here, because when you remove this, this will want to move, or it can move quite easily. The cam can move quite easily, so make sure that it goes back in exactly the same position and that the cam hasn't moved. Right, that's that for now. Let's get the gasket ready to go back on the rocker cover. Replacing the O-rings in the spark plug port tubes. To get these out, generally, if you just give them a little squeeze, you can pick up the end with a pair of old long nose pliers and literally just pull them off. 1 and 2. Now both these tubes, this is 1 and 4, both these tubes are the same. They're the same size, there's no different angle to them or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about them going back in the right hole. There's that one off. The O-rings feel a little bit firm. I would say that the manifold gasket, sorry, the rocker cover gasket has been replaced more recently than these have. You know, it's an easy, I believe this engine has had some work done to it a while ago. The rocker cover gasket would have been, you know, without a doubt the thing to have replaced. Just make sure that your collars are clean. In your O-rings, you've got 2 different size O-rings. The smaller one actually goes into the head, and the top one, the larger one, goes into the rocker cover gasket. Now, here we go, and then to fit those over the top, like that. It's still a little oily in there, but I'm going to put a little bit of grease around the outer edges of these before I install them back in the engine, just to help them glide comfortably into place. So that's 1 and 4 done. Let's get the others sorted and get them back in the car. Right, I thought before I put the tubes back in, I'll just have a look and take that spark plug out of number 1. Now, it's actually a heck of a lot drier than it was when I took it out last week. Still a bit sooty, but you can also notice that the thread is oily again as well. So that oil has been getting back in there. There was oil lying there in the bottom of the port. Hang on. You can see there's oil down there. I'm going to clean that out. It's easier to clean it out now than when the plug's back in. And I'll do the same with number 4. But what amazes me is that obviously the spark plug in its port, it should be sealed in there. The oil is making its way down that thread, and you can clearly see, trying to put some light on it, you can see how shiny that thread is. It's got oil in it, and I'm guessing again that that oil is getting into the port. But I don't understand, if oil can get down there, then surely compression must be able to get out. But maybe I'm just looking at things the wrong way around. But still, we're going to clean that up and put it back in, and we should be good now because we're replacing all the seals. For the record, I'm not changing 2 and 3 because 2 and 3 aren't leaking for starters, and also the collars don't come out the same way as 1 and 4 do. There's a lot more to be removed, and actually I've never done those in the centre. They are captive top and bottom. There's no way for them to move about, and obviously less chance they'll ever get damaged. So 1 and 4 are done. 2 and 3 I'm going to leave as they are. They weren't leaking anyway. Right, I'll give them both collars a clean out. I put a little bit of grease around each O-ring This is number 1. There you go. It's locked in there beautifully. You can feel it pop home. This one, I might not be able to show you so well here. Got to watch what I'm doing. I'm not interested in the camera. That's the collar. That's it. I'm going to just visually get down there and make sure they're in. But that's those two done. Right, number 1's back in. This is number 4. Again, there's oil around the base. This one doesn't appear to have made it all the way to the bottom of the thread. The plug itself, again, it's a little bit rich. Could oil be baked, could be oil based. And let's have a little look down the actual hole itself. Maybe you can see that in there. Trying to get you some light. Yeah, and you can see the oil line there back in the collar. So we're gonna clean that out, clean the plug up and put it back. And then we can work on refitting the rocker cover. Hopefully you'll be able to see down there that all the oil has now gone. I've dried the collar out so it's all nice and clean. There is a little bit of debris down there, but I just can't get it out. But it's you know, nothing major. Let's put the plug back in the hole. Okay, rocker cover fitted back on. Couldn't really video it. I needed ultimate space and I needed both hands, and you've got to concentrate when you're putting it back on. But it's all nice and situated and seated. I've got to nip the bolts up finally just to make sure they're all right. In the process, I have, you can just about make it out, that bolt right there, about 1 o'clock with a thread sticking out the top of it. That one there's a 10mm, that's that awkward what's it that I've done. In the process, I dropped my spanner on the last turn down the back of the engine, and of course it's laying on the floor pans. So I'm going to have to take the floor pans out, or undo them at least, so I can get my spanners back. And also I've got a nut down here, remember when we first took it off, to recover as well. So I thought, what the hell, let's get the ramps out and take it off and find me bits and bobs. Rocker cover is all tightened down, nice and even all the way through. We've done the bolts. We've done these 2 little earth strap links that go either side of the Valvetronic motor. They're in. Found me nut underneath the vehicle and managed to retrieve my 10mm spanner, so I was quite happy about that. Coil packs back in number 1. Push them in together, remember, a little snap shut. Number 2, like I say, I number these, so it's always a good idea with coil packs to know where they came from. To be honest, they're all the same, but number 3 was the new one. This one's had a replacement at some point or other. In there, 1, 2, 3, and snap a dapper. And number 4. Sorry if you can't see that, I can barely see it myself. Yeah, so unfortunately I couldn't really show you putting the rocker cover on. It is fiddly, it's important. I even tied the harness here, this bit, I tied this out of the way. Got a bit of extra height on this torsion bar scenario thing here. Make sure it's nice and clear. And also at the back of the cam, you'll see it when you remove it, there is the top of a spring. There's a spring in there, big spring, but all you can see is like the top bit of it, like that. And it wants to get in the way of you sliding the rocker cover over the top with the new gasket. just things to look out for, otherwise you could snag it or even pull it all out of line. So that's the main problems. That bolt in the top corner, right hand side at the back, was the fiddliest one. We've now got to put on the breather. I can show you that. Oh, not really. Hang on. Yeah, that loomy bit there goes over the back of it there. Right, okay, let's see if I can show you. Right. Back of the rocker cover, that's your crankcase breather. Just push on. Just snap into place like that. That's that bit done. So yeah, from the front we've now got we've got to put our Valvetronic electrics in place. That's all the electrics situed there. We're just going to make sure they're all in the right position, and then I'm going to let the vehicle learn it's got a new pump, and then we're going to give it a little run up before I put everything back, just to make sure that we don't have any leaks. Okay, in the car, all you need to do for the system to acknowledge that new Valvetronic pump is switch on your ignition and wait for 10 seconds. And then start the car. And that's all there is to it. We'll pop outside, just check for some leaks. I have already had a look at it to make sure we're all snug. 1 second. BMW 318. Rocker cover gasket, Valvetronic motor, all done. Cleaned up all the trim as well before I put it all back, so it's looking a bit tidier underneath here. But yeah, all done and dusted. Computer seems to have accepted the new motor so far, but yeah, time for a road test and we'll see how we get on. But other than that, thanks for watching. Hope you found it of some help. Take care. Sorry Porsche guys, it's been a BMW, but these things happen. But just in case, yeah, you know it, didn't you? You know it. You know it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you again soon. Bye.